Hello, teams. Welcome to another edition of Science Friday Trivia. My name is Diana, your trivia host with the most, I guess, with some, for sure, some. Welcome again to another Wednesday night Science Friday Trivia night. My name is Diana. I am Science Friday's Experiences Manager. If you don't know Science Friday, we are your one-stop shop for all things science news. You can go to sciencefriday.com to find all the things you ever need about science, including, but not limited to, all of the radio segments that we've done in the last, we have all of them on CDs in the office. You can believe that, but there's like from the last 10 years, you can find them there. You can go watch some videos, some of which we'll see tonight. You can look at our educational resources, our digital articles, all kinds of stuff. It's all there for you, sciencefriday.com. So excited that you all are here for another edition of Science Friday Trivia. We've been doing it for, that's right, a year and a month strong. We're making it happen, y'all. I asked in the chat, by the way, when was the last time that you did something for the first time? Some amazing answers. First of all, Pat worked on a Vienna regulator, which I looked up. It's a kind of clock. That's awesome. That's a really cool. Maybe I should give up my job as a trivia host and just work on clocks. Doc Chorday went to a quilt museum and then went to a concert of Ukrainian music. What a cool life. Michael baked bread for the first time on January 2nd and then every Sunday since. I love that. Ugh, traditions are great. So everyone is just letting us know, hey, this is the first time you've been here. Hello. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. So yeah, keep letting me know. I want to know about all of the first times that you did think. Wait, Juliana tried candy made from algae for the first time last week. That's awesome. Wow, that sounds awesome. I am gonna find that. If you is there a way I can get some of that? I want some. Anyway, let's do the thing that we always do, which is talk about Science Friday Trivia, huh? So, how is this going to work? We're going to do 3 rounds of trivia. It's going to take about 90 minutes. In order to play trivia, you have to submit your answers via a form. And so I've got your forms right here. If you're part of our email list, you get sent the forms every week. So you've got the list. But I always send them in the chat for you. So those are the forms you're going to enter the trivia questions. The thing about the form is it goes to a spreadsheet, which is auto scoring. So do your best by keep your answers short and sweet. And so I usually use one word. Sometimes it's a phrase, but if it's one word, I usually don't use a or the at the beginning. So you can get rid of those articles, get rid of the exclamation points or any other kind of punctuation. Keep your answers as simple as possible, and that is the best way to get the answer right. I do go through the forms, and I do double check your answers. So I give you a point for how perhaps you spelled something close but not quite right, or you've written something in a way that I didn't anticipate. But the best way to get your answers right is to keep your answers simple. The rounds are pretty quick, but we list the questions at the end of each round. So if you want another look at the questions before you submit, you can do that at the end of the round. You can chat with us. So a bunch of people, again, are chatting in the chat. So you do have to log into YouTube to do that. So if you don't have a YouTube account, you'll just have to create one. Usually it can connect to your Google account if you have one of those. And the last thing is that the live stream is just a little bit delayed. So if you ask me a question, which you can do at any time in the chat, sometimes it takes me a little bit to see it and to give you an answer, but don't worry, I will do my best to answer your questions as you ask them. What should you do now? As a team, you should assign a team captain. This is the person who will open all of the answer forms and actually type the answers for your whole team and submit the form. That captain should do me a favor. Open all of the answer forms now. If you have not already, decide on a team name, and then the team name needs to be the same on all of the forms. So you have to make sure, because my form is very smart. I've built a very smart form, but it cannot read your team names differently. So if you write it once, write it the same way on round 2 and round 3's forms. Better yet, just copy and paste it all the way across. That is the best way to make sure that your score carries over. What are the rules? There's basically only 2 rules with all trivia nights. Be nice to each other and don't look up the answers online. Listen, you're all at home by yourselves. Maybe you're with your friends and your family. Maybe you're with your enemies. I don't care who you're with, but don't look up the answers online. I don't want you to go to sleep tonight feeling bad about things. the ways that you can be supportive in the chat, friendly greetings. Don't put the answers in the chats. Questions or noticings. For instance, Jamie is asking, is anyone else seeing one of last week's multiple choice responses pre-filled on Q4 in round 3? That's weird. I feel like sometimes because you are using the same forms over and over, it just pre-fills it in for you. So Jamie, try refreshing for me and see if that helps. If it doesn't, you should just obviously be able to sort of highlight and take away that answer and write in what you actually think once we get there. But sometimes it's weird. The forms are weird. I think I should maybe reset them, but we'll maybe do that next week. All right, there are 2 themed trivia nights coming up. So we just do kind of Science Friday trivia, just science-y, fun trivia every week, but once a month I theme it. So all 3 rounds are about one theme. So this coming week, so next Wednesday, the 30th, Science Friday Book Club is back. We're going to have Christy Taylor back co-hosting trivia with me. We're reading The Sirens of Mars right now. Don't worry if you are not reading along with us. Totally okay. Just come back to Science Friday Trivia. It's going to be all about space, but specifically about Mars and our exploration for life on other planets. Super excited about that. And then at the end of April, we're doing a dino-themed evening with author and science writer Riley Black. I'm very excited to have her on. It's going to be really awesome. Yeah, that's it. What do you win? You win the naming rights of one of Science Friday's office plants. We are running out of plants, and so I'm going to have to find something else to give you very soon. But for now, we still have a few more. And so if you want to see what that looks like, look at all these beautiful plants that have been named by Science Friday Trivia listeners and people. Though my coworkers come into the office and they're like, wow, this is weird, but I like it. And that's what I'm trying to do. So, all right. I'm ready to go, y'all. It's been a long Wednesday, but I'm ready to go. How about you? All right. Huh, Jamie, that's really weird. Try opening up the form in an incognito window. Try that for me. See if that works. For now, I'm going to move on. We're going to start where we always do, everyone. Round 1. So for round 1, I have created a bunch of science first. So the first time something happened, the first person to do something, anything like that. That's what this whole round is about. So we're going to jump right in with question 1. So in the 1960s and 70s, the USSR and the US were in a race to get into space in lots of ways, including the first to reach Mars. But it took the US 2 tries and the USSR 12 attempts to achieve a completely successful mission to the Red Planet. Launched in 2013, the Mars Orbiter mission, aka MOM, made what country the first nation in the world to reach Martian orbit successfully on its first attempt? So again, the question is, in 2013, the Mars Orbiter mission made what country the first nation in the world to reach Martian orbit successfully on its first attempt? So the USSR essentially had they just threw stuff at Mars for like 20 years, it seems like. They just kind of kept sending stuff to Mars. A bunch of them weren't successfully launched. A few of them got outside of Earth's atmosphere and then kind of puttered out somewhere between here and Mars. And the problem with sending stuff to Mars is you kind of have to be in alignment. There's like a I think it's like every 18 months or something like that. There's kind of a spot where Earth and Mars's orbit kind of like line up with each other, and it doesn't cost as much to try and send something to Mars. There's just not as much effort or space to move through. So yeah, so you actually have to like kind of like time it. So a bunch of people just kind of like throw stuff at Mars all at the same time. And man, did the Soviet Union just like try throwing stuff at Mars for a really long time before they got it. So they did have 12 attempts before they actually, or I guess 11 attempts before they finally made it to Mars successfully. There was like 2 that were like kind of partially successful. But yeah, the US's first try also, it didn't get there very well. So they had to send, was it Viking 1 and 2? They had to send another one that was successful. So I think it was actually Viking 3 and 4. I forget. I just read the whole book about it, but I don't remember. Anyway, for this one, again, we need what country launched the Mars Orbiter mission, which made it the first nation in the world to reach Martian orbit on its first attempt. Yeah, Juliana, I do have to say, this isn't a picture of Mars. It's just a picture of some swirly water. I'm glad you enjoy it, though. All right, question number 2. The Edwin Smith Papyrus is an ancient Egyptian medical text written about 1600 BCE, and it is the first known surgical treatise on trauma. It's boringly named after Edwin Smith, by the way, an American collector who bought it in 1862. Ugh, it's just, we could name it anything else. So the work ends abruptly in the middle of a sentence and without any inclusion of an author. So we don't know who it was written by, who it was used by, or exactly why it was created. The papyrus begins by addressing injuries to what part of the body? So it's a treatise. It's essentially like a textbook. And so essentially it needs to start somewhere. So what part of the body were they talking about at the very beginning of the Edwin Smith Papyrus? All right. Oh, cool. So Jamie has a background in medical history. I know every time I write a question like this, I'm like, oh, Jamie's going to get this one. She incorporated references to the document in a history of medicine paper. That's awesome. Yeah. Of course, we had to start somewhere, and I was not surprised at all that the Egyptians, who wrote a lot and preserved, they actually, I mean, part of it is that they wrote a lot, and so also a lot of stuff was preserved. But also they had a lot of trash heaps, and that's actually where a lot, I mean, I don't want to say a lot in like a more than 50% way, but I know that that's where many of our like paper and other materials from Egyptian history actually come from. It's not really from like digs by populated areas, but it's from like trash heaps, like literally like pits where they put trash. I love it. All right, so once again, I need the injuries to what part of the body begin this specific papyrus. All right, so that was question 2. Here's question 3. Behold, the first actual image of a black hole. We've understood that what these could look like and act like for decades, but only had the technology in recent years to capture this beautiful, blurry image in 2019. This black hole is at the center of what galaxy? Is it Mephier 1, Andromeda, Centaurus A, or Messier 87? So some of these have different names, so I put another version of their name next to them in parentheses. But essentially, I need you to tell me at the heart of what galaxy is this beautiful blurry black hole? Is it A, B, C, or D? This is like, it feels like this is the last time, I mean, I don't want to say this. I feel a little bit like this was the last time I was like really excited about science. I just remember sort of like rallying with my coworkers about this. I've been excited about science a lot since then, actually. But I remember being like in person and being like, this is awesome. Like, this is awesome that we're all sort of like sitting here together and doing this. I get excited about science every week. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's been a long day, y'all. I literally get excited about science every single week. I actually missed Science Friday last week, and I listened to it, part of it on Monday and the other part of it on Tuesday. And I was like, oh, it's just not as good when you're like sitting around texting your coworkers, essentially. That was fun. But I do feel like I listen better when I'm able to sort of talk about the segments with my coworkers. It's really fun. All right. Back in the olden days of 2019, this beautiful blurry image was taken. Where is this black hole? We're going to move on to question number 4. Not that extreme pressure and heat isn't cool, but lab-grown diamonds have become something of a sensation since they were first imagined in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. On February 15th, 1955, GE held a press conference to announce that the first verifiable non-natural diamonds were made in their labs the previous December. But another major electrical equipment manufacturing company said, wait, no fair. We did that in February of 1953, and we just didn't tell anyone yet. You just got to have a really good PR department. So in what Scandinavian country is that company and lab located? So I'm talking about not about GE, but in what Scandinavian country is the company and lab where the supposedly first lab-grown diamond was made in February of 1953, not December of 1954 by GE. So I'm looking for a Scandinavian country where that happened. I didn't know it was this early, actually. When I was looking up something about, I was like, oh, when was the first? I wonder. I found a story about this actually on our website. It's how I do a lot of my research, by the way. I was looking up a story about this on our website. I think it was from a book that we featured, something about science firsts. And there was a little bit about this story. And I was like, wow, 1955, that like both was quite a long time ago and not that long ago. I mean, yeah, like I'd written here, they like kind of were like, we could do this in like the 1800s and 1900s and like early 1900s. And it took a while for them to figure out exactly how to do it. But also, I mean, this is not, of all the scientific pursuits, I think the thing that we like need to put our minds behind. It's pretty cool, but it probably took a while because like we had other stuff to do. So, all right, once again, I'm looking for the Scandinavian country in which supposedly the first lab-grown diamond was made by a major electrical equipment manufacturing company that was not GE. We're moving on to question number 5. A favorite of Science Friday trivia attendees, a true or false question. So true or false, the Ig Nobel Prize, the satirical scientific prize that aims to honor achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think, and to which SciFri dedicates an hour of its Thanksgiving week programming, was founded in 1991, the same year that SciFri was founded. So is it true or false that the Ig Nobel Prize was founded in 1991, the same year that Science Friday was founded? This is not a photo from the Ig Nobel, by the way. I just needed a photo of someone on stage looking like they knew what they were talking about. And I thought this photo was nice. So if you haven't listened to the Ig Nobel Prize, again, we play it every, we have a very, we have a short week on Thanksgiving week. And so we try to keep our programming, kind of easy to throw onto the air and make people sort of listen to this silly award ceremony. But I found some really interesting papers by looking up the past Ig Nobel Prize. So, all right. So true or false, was the Ig Nobel Prize founded in the same year as Science Friday, 1991? And that's it, my friends. We've made it to the end of the round. Here are all of the questions. I'm going to give you a minute and a half to actually submit your form. So if you need another minute and a half, now is your time. I'm going to play a little bit of music. Have fun. Good luck. See you soon. All right, teams, this is your last chance to submit your forms, and goodbye. Go with the questions. We'll see them again soon. So I need to go score. If you have not submitted your forms already, now is the time to do them. So I need some time to do that. And so I'm going to go actually read all these and make sure you got points that you deserved. Reminder that if you think if I read the scores later and you're like, that's not my score, you can always just let me know your team name and what you think you should have gotten. And I will take a look at your scores and I will redo them. But hopefully I won't have to do that because I'm going to look very closely at them now. While you're, not watching me score everything, I'm going to let you watch a video. So this video is about an eerie effect that happens to water if it goes on a specific surface. That's all I'm going to tell you. Have fun. I'll see you in like 4 minutes. Enjoy.
As a physicist, Dr. Kei Takashina knows that even the simplest phenomenon can produce great complexity.
You just drop the water on the surface. So you have 3 phases of matter coexisting and interacting with each other already. And the question is, what happens and why?
Drop water on a heated surface, and it slowly boils and evaporates. Heat up the surface some more, and the water sizzles away instantaneously. Keep increasing the temperature, and suddenly the droplets coalesce and float above the surface. This is the Leidenfrost effect. First described in 1756 by a German doctor, Johann Gottlob Leidenfrost, the effect only occurs when a surface reaches a temperature so hot that it creates a thin layer of vapor between itself and the liquid, in effect insulating it and dramatically slowing down any further vaporization. Although it's a common sight while cooking,
it is something that is commonly overlooked, I would say.
Dr. Takashina's own interest in the effect didn't start in the kitchen.
A friend of mine emailed me a link to this paper in Physical Review Letters by Heine Linke.
Entitled Self-Propelled Leidenfrost Droplets, the paper reported a way to move beads of water across a heated surface covered with stair-like ridges. As the droplet encountered a ridge, the flow of vapor beneath it pulled it up and over, even when the surface was on a slight incline. With no moving parts, the process could potentially be used to cool an overheated microchip inside of a computer.
And it looked so interesting. I mean, you have to try it, right?
So Dr. Takashina and a group of physics undergraduates at the University of Bath got to work building and testing different ridged blocks. Right off the bat, the team noticed
the sharper the teeth are, the steeper the angle they seem to be able to climb.
And this led them to wonder what else would affect the droplet's ability to climb.
So at very high temperature, the droplets become completely levitated. And there, they can't climb very steep inclines at all. The steepest angle they climb is achieved at a lower temperature.
Here the droplets weren't 100% levitated. They still had contact with the surface, and this allowed them to grip its teeth. But as the team started using temperature to precisely control the ascent of the droplets, they noticed
that depending on the temperature of the block, the water would move in different directions. And this was completely unexpected.
And really cool. When the surface was heated over the Leidenfrost point, the droplets curved to the left. If they were under, they veered to the right.
There must be something in the structure of the surface.
Upon magnifying the ridges, the team noticed that they had small grooves,
which we think is responsible for the directionality.
And as one might expect from a team of undergraduates, a creative idea took hold.
If you arrange the blocks in the right directions and you put the walls in the right places, it will work.
Behold the Leidenfrost maze.
With the water, it's immediate. You can see it, you can hear it. Can we use this effect to engage people who are otherwise not so interested in science?
To which we say, full steam ahead. For Science Friday, I'm Luke Groskin.
I can't believe I've never shown you that video before. It's such a classic. It's such a good Science Friday video. It's just like, here's a weird thing that people built. Watch it go crazy. I love that one. Ugh, that one's so much fun. I would like to build my own little Leidenfrost maze myself. All right, teams. Now that we're all refreshed from that video, let's get back to the answers for round one. For round one, question one, I asked you which country made the Mars orbiter mission and was the first country to reach Martian orbit successfully on its first attempt. It was India. Yes, Science Friday has a video all about this. I think we've actually watched it together. So if we haven't actually, I'm gonna maybe we'll watch that one next week. But I thought I'd shown you all of the breakthrough videos. It's part of our breakthrough series. It's a great video, and it features, I think, 3 of the researchers who were a part of making MOM happen. So pretty cool stuff. Again, this was back in 2013, I believe. Really awesome. I mean, just like the fact that they made it and it's still, I actually don't know if it's still operating. Many Martian things in orbit stay up there for quite some time. So pretty cool stuff. Second question, I asked you about the Edwin Smith papyrus and asked about what part of the body it actually addressed first. So it is both the first known surgical textbook, essentially, and I needed to know what part it talked about first. It was the head. Yeah, so basically the brain and the head. As you can probably imagine, it kind of went like up. I think it was like head, neck, and then arms. And so it kind of like goes down the body, essentially. A few of you guessed like chest or heart, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because you would think like, well, that's one of the things that powers. But they basically kind of went from top to bottom, which is probably how I would do it too. So, all right. Kathleen said, all that studying. I know sometimes it just doesn't pay off. Question 3, I asked you for in which galaxy is this black hole? It's Messier 87. So Virgo A, it's pretty far out there, but also not that far as galaxies go. I think it's like kind of a neighbor in some ways. Yes, the other ones are in fact, I didn't make any of these up, by the way. Those are other galaxies. They're other actually like supermassive, not supermassive, but they have supermassive black holes in them. But they also are spiral galaxies. All of those are spiral galaxies. So if you're like, oh, I will pick the I know it's a spiral galaxy. Unfortunately, I gave you a list of a bunch of them. So hopefully you did your best and guessed the right one or knew it. You all are very smart. So I'm sure many of you just knew that. All right, I asked which Scandinavian country was the first, supposedly, even though they refused to tell anyone about it, to make a lab-grown diamond. It was Sweden. Yes. Basically, they just like, they were being very cautious. They weren't sure they wanted to replicate this, and so they took their time, not realizing that GE was hot on their tail. And so, like a year and a half later, they did it as well, and then talked about it just after February, Valentine's Day, by the way. They like made the press announcement on like February 15th. And I was like, you missed the date, but okay, that's fine. Maybe it was on a Friday and they wanted to make it on a Friday, but all right. And the last question I asked you, true or false, was the Ig Nobel Prize founded on the same year as Science Friday? Sure was, everybody. Yeah, that's it. They were just founded on the same year. I found that interesting. I was going through some of the just history about the Ig Nobels. I was like, oh, maybe I'll talk about one of the first prizes. They're all a little mean. I forgot about that, about the Ig Nobel Prize. They're just like a little bit mean. So I was like, I don't want to talk about any of these papers. And they were also, the papers were hard to find. So I was like, because it was first founded in 1991. So I was like, oh, I'll just talk about, oh, that's interesting. It was founded in the same year. I'll just make it that. So you had to know many things. The year that Science Friday was founded, the year that Ig Nobel was founded. You had to assume that I wasn't lying about both those things, and I wasn't. All right, let's get to the scores. Here are the top 10 teams in alphabetical order. There's a few more teams that have 4s as well, but I'm going to read all the team scores all the way up and down the line. Oh, you know what's amazing is that there are 0 teams with 0s. Congratulations, team. Everybody got at least 1 right, including 2 in the bush, Trace Cabases, and Island Girls. You all have 1 point. With 2 points, Sweltering Swifts, Prairie Schooners, Pinchy, Green Fluorescent Proteins, Fox Kit, Ford, Cahill Climbers, Bulldogs Need Love 2, and Bentley. You all have 2 points. With 3 points tied for 3rd place, Professors and the Castaways, Number Nerds, ? Nebula Knights, Magnificent Manatees, Lottie and the Pigeons of Power, Leo DeGrand's Must Die, Greek God of Revelry, Egg, Dr. Chordy, and Cinder Squids. You all have 3 points. With 4 points, Ultraviolet, Trained Observers, Team Aries, Sibling Rivals, Senioritis Elegans, Sea Muskrats, Raven Puffles and Argonauta, you all have 4 points. And with 5 points, Sacramento Kings, Los Gatos, Just Me McGee, Herpetophilia, DeJam and Lux, and Buck I 5. Congratulations, teams. Teams, you're doing great. I am just so wonderfully pleased for you. This is going great. Let's move on. Let's just take our inertia, our excitement from round 1, and go to round 2. You asked for it, and so I made it, everybody. This one's all about camelids, camels and alpacas and llamas and all other kinds of people, of animals in the camelid family. So I did a lot of research, and there will be no spitting today. So congratulations. Let's go. Let's start where we always do. I'm going to post the round form in the chat. Ba-ba-da-ba. Here we go. We're just going to start off nice and easy into this round. First things first, I need to know that you know your camels. Which is pictured here? A dromedary camel or a bacterian camel? So, those are the camels. Which kind are they? Are they dromedary camels or Bactrian camels? They're very good camels, both of them, the lot of them. I like them very much. I'm sure you all know this because you are probably users of emoji like me. Both dromedary and Bactrian camels are available as emojis, both of them, which I think is interesting. They were like, we could choose between the two kinds of camels. Well, there's more than that, of course, but the two most well-known kinds of camels. And they chose not to. Good question, Jamie. I didn't make it multiple choice. You can write either. You can write, if, for instance, you think the answer is the dromedary, you can write dromedary, or you can write dromedary camel. I programmed both 1-word and 2-word answers, right? But just don't write a or the at the beginning. Because technically there are 2, but also I didn't program that in as the right answer. So it will make more work for everybody. So just answer one word or 2. It's fine if you just write the first word. Yeah, Michael, if you just write camel. You do have to write one kind. Don't just write camel. You're funny. That's funny. Please don't do that. I'll have to mark it wrong and I'll feel bad. I'll feel bad because I will have said you can just write 1 word, but you have to write. We agree that these are camels. Which kind of camel? All right, we're going to move swiftly along to question number 2. Alpaca fleece is similar to sheep's wool, although it's considered warmer, softer, water repellent, and fire resistant, and is generally considered to be hypoallergenic. That's because alpacas produce only a minuscule amount of a wax that many other wool-bearing animals do. What? That's because alpacas, sorry, I'm like reading this again. Did I write that right? That's because alpacas produce only a minuscule amount of wax that many other wool-bearing animals do. Name that 1-word wax. So there is a waxy substance that wool-bearing animals produce that alpacas really don't. They have a small amount in their wool, but they really don't, and therefore it is more hypoallergenic than other kinds of fleece or wool. So I need you to write the 1 word that tells me the wax. So you don't have to write blank wax. You can just write the word. I'm looking for the word that we use to describe this kind of wax from wool-bearing animals. Ba-ba-da-ba. That is what we're looking for. Look at this alpaca, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's an alpaca. I looked for a few different photos. It's hard to tell what kind of like fleecy camelid this is. It could have been a llama, technically, I suppose. It looked a little bit more like an alpaca. I'm not sure how you tell the difference if you're just like looking at them. I feel like you can kind of tell, though. Llamas look like more like they're in charge, and alpacas look more like they're like into fashion. Does that make sense? That's the only way I know how to describe it when I'm looking at them. I'm like, you look like you're the boss, and you look like you just came from Fashion Week. So that's the only way I can really tell the difference. Jonathan says that's definitely an alpaca. Looks like my alpaca before shearing day. I love that. Yeah, I know they do spit. Apparently they mostly spit like at other alpacas and like llamas. So they don't, I mean, they definitely do spit at people. I mean, I've been there, but like only if you like are really getting in their face and annoying them. So, oh, this it really was a joy to write this round, by the way, because I just got to look at pictures of llamas for like half a week. The eyes are there. The eyes are there, Steve. They're peeking out. I mean, you can't really. It's true, you can't really see them, but I think one's about here and the other one's about here, so they're there somewhere. All right, we're going to move on to question number 3. So camelids are unique creatures, but you can find similarities with other mammals if you look closely. How are vicuña and rodents alike, generally speaking? So I'm being a little bit general here because this is trivia and not science trivia for, camelid researchers. So being general, which of these is true of both vicuñas and rodents? Is it A, they have coarse fur not suitable for shearing? B, their incisors are constantly growing? C, both have very good vision? Or D, the mothers give birth to 6 to 8 young in one litter? So which of these is true, generally speaking, of both vicuña and rodents? Is it that they both have coarse fur, I should say? They both have incisors that are constantly growing. They both have very good vision, or they both are, as mothers, give birth to about 6 to 8 young in one litter. Eric has put it this way. Thanks, Eric. Thank you. I try my best. I find that when I just speak my mind at these trivias, it tends to go well. And that's just what I think. I've looked some llamas in the eye and been like, I don't want to bother you. I think you have a lot of emails to answer, and it looks like you need more coffee. But I've never thought that when I've looked at an alpaca. They just look like they're having fun. So that's just what I think. All right. So that is question number 3, all about vicuñas. That's a little one right there, by the way. Look how cute it is. They're just like a little bit smaller than the other kinds of camelids. I think there might be the smallest kind of camelid. They're really cute. I like this one. It's got a little ruffle on. All right, question number 4. I love starting questions with behold, because I've done it twice in this trivia round, but behold, an extinct camelops. We don't know a whole lot about this creature, but we do know that it was roaming around North America for about 4 million years and then went extinct at the end of the Pleistocene, around 11,000 years ago. In the mid-1800s, when a newly established United States Camel Corps brought camels into deserts of the Southwest to see if they could be used as part of war efforts, because we'll try anything apparently, the camels that they brought in, the camels supposedly ate a plant that most other animals turned their noses up at, which some believed might have been part of the camelops diet back in the olden days. So what is the name of the yellow flowering bush that camels, when they were brought over to the United States, ate with abundance? They apparently, so here's the thing, I'm going to say all this with a grain of salt because I found like one reference to this in like one kind of history blog. There's a chance that none of this is true. I don't know. I did my best to research it, and I thought it was such an interesting fact, if true, that I wanted to bring it here to you all. I don't know for sure that this is true. I couldn't find a lot about the United States Camel Corps because it happened in the 1800s, and apparently we were really embarrassed by it because we never tried it again, and it didn't go great. But yes, supposedly we did this. Supposedly the camels, when they got here, started eating this yellow flowering bush that was all around, sort of like, I think it's like kind of along the border of the United States and Mexico is kind of where it grows. So bottom of Texas and New Mexico and Arizona. It's true that plant exists there and that not a lot of things eat it because it has pretty bitter leaves, but that apparently camels love it. And so when they saw that, they were like, oh, interesting. That's like maybe camels who used to live in the United States ate this as well. But there's no camels here anymore, so they just kind of grow now. Is this picture from the La Brea tar pits? That's a great question. I don't remember where this is from. It might be. It's definitely, obviously, from a museum exhibition. I don't know, Caitlin. I'll have to look it up later. Zena is asking bush in the true botanical sense or bush-shaped? I'm going to be honest that I don't know. True botanical sense. Well, I will tell you, if this is a bit of a hint, that the name has the word bush in it. So if that helps at all, I'll look it up really quick. Let's see. Is it a true bush? I don't know how to look that up. I think it's a true bush. But again, I'll be honest that I'm not sure how to verify that. Ooh, Jamie's asking, are you asking if it's a cactus? I'll tell you now, it is not a cactus. It's not a cactus. I don't believe it's a cactus. I just said that, and now I'm like, oh, actually, is it a cactus? But I don't think it's a cactus. No, this is not a cactus. It's a bush. It's a plant, and it grows in the Sonora Desert. I'm just going to tell you that. Great. Okay. I think I've given you enough hints. I think you'll all get there with me together. If you don't know this bush, that's okay. But I believe it is a true bush. We're going to move on. Thank you, Zena, for your question. To question number 5. Look at this little thing. A baby pig is a piglet, a baby beluga is a calf, and a baby echidna is a puggle. What is a baby llama called? Gosh, look at this little thing. I gotta tell you, I did find a few photos of baby llamas, and I had to stop myself from putting all of them on here because they're all just so cute. And I thought all of you would just stop playing because you would just pause the video and just be like, I've got to look at this thing for more time. I just got to look at it. So I think it's adorable, and I want to squish it. But for right now, the trivia question is, I need to know the name for a baby llama. I've given you a few examples. Baby pig is a piglet. Easy. Baby beluga is a calf. Sure, that makes sense. Baby echidna is a puggle because we just like having fun sometimes. But I need to know, what is a baby llama called? And teams, that is the end of round 2. Here are all of the questions. Again, I'm going to give you 1.5 minutes to finalize your answers. Then you have to submit your forms. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. But for right now, I'm going to play some music and you're going to finish answering. Good luck. All right, teams, this is your last chance to submit your answers for this round. And goodbye. There go all the questions. You'll see them again at the end of the round. All right, we are going to watch another video because I need to go score. So if you've not submitted your forms, now is the time to do it, everybody. It looks like most of them are in. Some of you have some very cute answers to the last question. Someone just wrote adorable. I agree. Anyway, I'm going to show you another video. This one is not, so we didn't have any videos about llamas or about alpacas, but we did have a video about another little woolly creature. I'm just going to let it show off itself. Have fun. I'll see you in like 3.5 or 4 minutes.
On your mark, get set, go!
Every year since 1978, the residents of Banner Elk, North Carolina, race woolly bear caterpillars. Like the infamous groundhog of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, the winning animal is deemed a prognosticator of the coming winter weather. You may have heard this myth.
The woolly bear caterpillar body has 13 segments, and you can actually count the segments. The more brown on the woolly bear, the milder the coming winter.
And the more black segments, the harsher it will be. So how did the larva of a moth become a pop culture prophet? And if animals can detect earthquakes or rainstorms, could there be any truth to the myth?
We are at Bear Mountain State Park in the lower Hudson Valley, about 40 miles north of New York City. We do see woolly bears, especially this time of year. You see them trying to find their winter retreats. They generally want to get underneath something to spend the winter. It could be a piece of wood, a log, a rock. They actually have an adaptation where they have cryoprotectants circulating in their body that keep them from fully freezing, and it protects their tissues from damage when it gets below zero. We have miles and miles of roads that pass through the extensive park system, and that's a good place to encounter woolly bears.
It was on the roads of Bear Mountain on a warm fall day in 1948 that Dr. Howard Coran, the curator of entomology at the American Museum of Natural History, along with his colleagues, conducted the first informal study of the woolly bear's predictive powers. A reporter at the New York Herald Tribune accompanied the group, noting that they gathered 15 fine woolly bears. And even though they were out for woolly bears, the scientists decided it was safe to take their wives along. The story took off and garnered national attention.
And he carried it on for about 8 years, from the late 40s into the early 50s. And I think he designed it really just to have a pleasant foray up to Bear Mountain each fall.
There's just one problem.
Intuitively, I would find it difficult to believe.
Dr. Jack Lane of Slippery Rock University researches woolly bears and other freeze-tolerant creatures.
You see a lot of variability among individuals, even in the same year. I would expect to be collecting maybe 100 or more from an individual population in order to try to get a feel for what the band dynamics are. And then, of course, you want to look across a number of neighboring geographic areas. You really need to collect a large amount of data over many, many different years.
So if Dr. Coran's study isn't valid, then where does that leave the myth?
You know, I haven't seen evidence to disprove the woolly bear hypothesis, but honestly, that science is out on that one.
But wait, before you label science a buzzkill, here's a few reasons to love the woolly bear's fuzz.
They're brown and black, and that's usually a warning to potential predators that I'm not very good to eat. And then you get a mouthful of hairs if you do try to eat them.
These hairs, or setae, don't keep the caterpillar warm like fur. They actually help to freeze it.
It turns out the bristles trigger freezing of water at temperatures that are just a little bit below 0 degrees centigrade. The advantage here is it allows the caterpillar to freeze more predictably.
And that's a prediction the woolly bear can actually use. You see, recent studies have shown that each time the woolly bear has to thaw and freeze, there are energy costs to repair damaged cells and reboot their systems. These specialized setae allow the woolly bear to begin the freezing process outside of its body, away from its cells, and then hopefully stay in a frozen state longer. So the bristles and bands of the woolly bear protect it from predators and help to control its cryogenic slumber. But Dr. Lane suggests there may be one more plausible benefit to the bristles and bands.
So they're probably a little bit more tolerated simply because people find them sort of a cute and quaint animal. So the legend just adds a little bit more to their affection for the caterpillars.
Now that's a charming survival strategy. For Science Friday, I'm Luke Groskin.
Very cute. I just like them so much. I think they are adorable. I love the little note at the end. We did probably feed them too much, but they were not harms. So good. I hope you enjoyed that one. I really liked watching that one. All right, teams. Here are the answers. You all are doing very, very good this this round. You all just happen to know a lot about camelids, I guess. You're all just very smart. So, first question I asked you, is this a dromedary or a Bactrian camel? It's a Bactrian camel. Bactrians are the ones that have 2 humps, and dromedaries have 1. So, yeah, I don't know. There's not much else to say about this. I think it's just a memorization thing, but I can never remember which one is which. I'm just really bad at that. So I guess you can, you know what? I just realized how a lot of you probably know it. B has 2 bumps. And maybe you were taught that in school. B has 2 bumps, and so do Bactrian camels. There, I did it. Done. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. You're welcome. All right, question number 2. I asked you for the 1-word wax that many other wool-bearing animals have that alpacas really do not. Lanolin. I know that some people also use lanolin as kind of like skins, like it's like almost like lotion essentially. You can use it to help heal and soothe your skin if it's not feeling so good in the winter. So yeah, that's all I know about lanolin. That's it, everybody. Moving on. Question number 3. I asked you about cute little vicunias. Incredibly cute. And I asked you what they have in common with rodents. And it's actually that they have incisors that are constantly growing. I think that's so cool. I just think that's really cool. They also have enamel that only grows on one side of their teeth. I guess that's because I don't know why, because they eat a lot of grass and perhaps it's kind of like it needs to be protected on the outside, but not really on the inside. I don't know why. I don't know that other people, like scientists, know why, but thought that was cool. All right, that is question number 3 about little vicunias. They're very cute. Question number 4. I wrote this in the chat, but Caitlin, you were right. This is totally the La Brea tar pits. I've actually never been there in my entire life. I have friends who live in LA, and I might, when I visit, I might go there because it seems like a really cool place. But the question was about the United States camel corps and the yellow flowering bush that that the camels eat, apparently. So they brought a bunch of camels over, and they're like, man, they really like this bush. It's called the creosote bush. It's also called greasewood. And like I said, apparently most like mammals and other animals that live in the area, they just don't eat it because it just doesn't taste very good. So, ooh, Jonathan has a fun hint about alpacas and llamas. You have to trim alpaca teeth every 2 years or so. I guess they don't eat fast enough, and they don't wear down their tooth. That is so interesting. Jamie is also wondering if they appreciate the help, which I'm gonna guess that they don't. But you never know. Sometimes a good teeth filing, it probably feels really good. Who knows? Question number 5, the last of the round, I asked you what this adorable baby llama is called. I'm going to read some of the answers that are not right, but I wish they were because it's cute. A lot of people that wrote a version of Lamalita, which I think is cute. Lamette, Lamacita. Lamacita is my favorite, though. I just like that. Yeah, a lot of lamettes or lamalettes. Very close, not quite the right answer. I also liked a few people who just wrote adorable. I mean, you're right that it is adorable, but the correct answer for what it is called is a cria. When I mentioned this to my partner, they said, oh, like creation, like essentially like they were just created. So here's a cria. And I was like, oh, that's actually great. I think that's amazing. I love language like that. It's like, oh yeah, I guess it is kind of like just created. Oh, that's cool. A little just created. I agree that lambda, like lambda or lamba, is also incredibly cute and should be its name as well. I agree. These are all very good answers, and I wish all of them were right. Unfortunately, Kriya is the only correct answer. All right, are you ready for round 1 and 2 scores? Here they are, teams. So these are the top scoring teams so far. I'm going to read all of them out right now. Amazing teams. We have at the very bottom right now, we have a few teams with 3 points. Again, 3 points. Amazing. Trace Cabezas, right on your name. I love it. Island Girls, Egg, and Bentley, you all have 3 points. With 4 points, 2 in the Bush, Sweltering Swifts, Fox Kits, K-Hole Climbers, Bulldogs Need Love 2. You all have 4 points. with 5 points. We have Lottie and the Pigeons of Power, Green Frost and Proteins, and Ford. You all have 5 points. With 6 points, we've got Team Aries, Prairie Schooners, Pinchy, Number Nerds, Nebula Knights, Leo DeGrance Must Die, and Dr. Chordate. You all have 6 points. With 7 points, Ultraviolet, Professor and the Castaways, Senioritis Elegans, Raven Puffles, Magnificent Manatees, Just Me McGee, Greek God of Revelry, Cinder Squid, and Argonauta. You all have 7 points. With 8 points, just one team, Sea Muskrats, and with 9 points tied for first place. Teams: Trained Observers, Sibling Rivals, Sacramento Kings, Los Gatos, Herpetophilia, Dejamin Lux, and Buckeye 5. Congratulations, the team's at the very top. All right, teams. Let's do it. We're going to scooch along, as we always do, to our last round. Ba-ba-da-ba. Last round, last week on Science Friday. So, as per usual, I listen to Science Friday, I write trivia questions for you, and then I make you listen to me talk about them for a half hour, essentially. So, yeah, Tom, I also see a big old tiebreaker coming. All of these teams are very close listeners to Science Friday. I can tell because of how they usually get many right on the last round. But we'll see how they do this time. Maybe they weren't listening so closely, or maybe I chose really hard things. I probably didn't. All right, let's go. Start with round number 3. Question number 1. So lots of cool space news is happening last week. The Webb telescope sent back its first in-focus photo, and NASA has launched a new quantum entanglement experiment into space. Cool. So entanglement, put probably poorly, but simply, this is the simplest I could make it, and I'm probably a little bit wrong, but bear with me. It's a phenomenon where one particle can effectively know something about another particle instantaneously, even if those particles are separated by a huge distance. That's about as simple as I could go. And know is in quotation marks because, particles can't quite know things the way that people know things because they don't have brains. Anyway, moving on. In 5 words, how did Einstein refer to entanglement? So during the course of this segment, we talked about a couple space news with Rachel Feltman, and she spoke a little bit about this quantum entanglement experiment that is being sent to space. And Ira quoted this quote from Einstein, who said something about entanglement. And so I need the 5-word quote from Einstein. Again, Ira quoted that during the segment. You don't need to put quotation marks around it. You can just write the 5-word segment. I'm sorry, the 5-word phrase, and leave it at that. So, yeah, Jamie thought I was only going to be asking about an adjective. So there's an adjective in this. I'll give you that much. That's your hint for this one. Now I'm going to make you do the whole thing. You got to be really close listeners to get Science Friday, the Science Friday round right. I'm trying to make it kind of hard for you. I had a feeling we had a lot of camel fans, and so you're going to get a lot of answers right for the last round. So, all right, teams, again, I need the 5-word phrase that Einstein used to refer to entanglement. Moving on to question number 2. This week, you heard a part, sorry, I read through all of these at least twice, but this is what happens. You heard a part of an episode of Threshold, a podcast telling stories about our changing environment on our show, where reporter and new homeowner Nick Mott explores what individuals can do to decarbonize their homes. What percentage of carbon emissions in the U.S. did Mott say comes from our homes? Was it 10, 20, 30, or 40%? Whatever you think it was, it's probably not that. It was a different number than I thought. I was surprised. I'm not going to tell you if it was higher or lower than what I thought, but I was surprised by this number. If you remember, also a couple weeks ago, we did a question about, where does the most food waste come from? I'm not surprised. It's from homes. We individual makers of food, because it has nothing to do. We should care about whether we're being efficient with our money, that we're not wasting money as well as food. But restaurants don't waste as much, and grocery stores also don't waste as much in terms of what heads to a landfill, essentially. homes do, like individual homes. So that's a bummer. But the question is, what percentage of carbon emissions in the US did Mott say come directly from our homes, from the usage at our homes? Was it 10, 20, 30, or 40%? Moving on to question number 3. So questions 3 and 4 are about science true crime. We did like 30 minutes of science true crime. It was a little bit less, but we did a segment about science true crime last week. And our first story about science crimes has to do with rare succulents. With demand for low maintenance plants, poachers are now going to great lengths to nab conophytum, which grow in specific conditions. So they're these really little succulents that really only grow in Namibia and other parts of Africa. So they're tiny, they can be flat on top, and they blend in well with the surrounding pebbles and rocks. What tool do poachers use to find these succulents, as described by Dina Fine-Marin, who is a senior wildlife crime reporter at National Geographic, which honestly is a job I would do. That sounds awesome. Senior wildlife crime reporter. I'm not happy that wildlife crime happens, but I gotta say, if you're gonna report about some kind of crime, wildlife crime, that's the kind. Oh no, Eileen, I'm sorry that your teammate is not able to submit their form. Yes, you are more than, oh yay, come, you're back. Regardless, Eileen, if for some reason you wanted to take over answering the form, you are more than welcome to do that. But Tom, it looks like you're back, which is great. Welcome back. Eileen, you may help him. I'll also show you the questions later, but if you missed any of the questions, Tom, Eileen is there for you. All right, so again, we're on question 3. I asked, what tool do poachers use to find these succulents? Again, they're small, they blend in really well with the surrounding rocks and pebbles, and so it's kind of hard to find them. But they use a tool to find these succulents, and it was described by the reporter who was on, Dina Fine-Marin, and her title is Senior Wildlife Crime Reporter, which is just really cool. All right, teams, we are moving along. The next, thing about crime and science is here. Question number 4. In 2018, in a daring daylight raid, thousands of creatures were taken from the Philadelphia Insectarium, a bug museum and education center, right under the nose of the CEO, and no one was ever charged for the crime. I have not watched this new documentary, by the way. We talk about this documentary. It's called Bug Out. I didn't actually finish the segment because I was warned by the producer of the segment that if you want to listen to it, you really should watch the video, the movie first, because otherwise it kind of like tells you what happens. And so I was like, I got to about 5 minutes before the end and I was like, I'm just going to turn this off. I'm going to watch the video. This sounds awesome. So anyway, the question is, how many live creatures, including beetles, spiders, roaches, and a whole gamut of other bugs and other animals, were estimated to have been stolen? I will give you a plus or minus 100 on this one. So if you're within 100 of the correct answer, I will still give it to you. You're welcome. I almost didn't do this, but I knew that you would need it. No, you probably don't need it. You probably know the exact right answer, actually. But I thought that I would appear to be a kind trivia host, and so I'd give you a plus or minus 100. So if you're within 100 of the correct answer, I will give it to you, but I need to know how many live creatures were estimated to have been stolen in the Philadelphia Insectarium heist. Again, I'm very excited to watch this documentary. It's called Bug Out, which is also a very good name for a documentary about bugs. It's just very good. I'm not great at naming things. I think I've said this before. I work at events. You have to name those events. I'm very good at just kind of like saying the wrong thing so that my coworkers can be like, obviously, Diana, this is called Who Done It. It is a, it's a movie. It's an event about trying to solve a crime about owl murders. So it's called Who Done It. Duh. I'm not very good at that. So I usually just ask my coworkers for help, and they help me a lot. So, but Bug Out is a good name for this documentary in particular. All right, we're moving on to our last question of the round, question number 5. In order to track temperature fluctuations and survey crops, engineers at the University of Washington looked to dandelion seeds. The traveling success of those floating puffballs inspired them to design a new ultralight sensor that weighs just 30 milligrams. True or false? They need to micro every bit of hardware on this sensor, so the battery weighs only 4 milligrams total. So again, University of Washington was inspired by dandelion seeds and said, like, can we put a little computer essentially on this dandelion seed? It turns out, yes, they got it to only weigh 30 milligrams, but true or false, they need to micro every bit of the hardware, and so the battery weighs only 4 milligrams total. True or false? All right, teams. I'm seeing the scores rolling in. That is the end of this round. And so, I'm going to do the thing that I always do, which is show you all of the questions. Here are the questions for round 3. It is your job to submit your form before the end of the song. So, good luck, have fun, enjoy the music. All right, teams, this is your last chance to submit your forms. I saw a bunch of them just come in right now. And goodbye. There goes the questions. All right, so, Bob has a question. How do they recover the sensors and not clutter the landscape? That's a great question. I'm not sure that they talked about that. I'm trying to remember. I listened to this segment earlier this week, so I don't remember. I might have to... Jamie is listening closer than I am and said they make them out of biodegradable materials. Gosh, you guys are much better listeners. I should have just waited for someone to answer it because I definitely listened to this only 2 days ago and don't remember all the details. Anyway, I'm going to show you another video because that's the thing I do well. This one's about a floating toilet. That's all I'm going to say about it. You're going to watch it. Submit your forms if you haven't already because I need to go score. Good luck, teams. I'll see you in like 4 minutes.
I'm pretty sure you've never seen one of these before. In fact, it may be the only one of its kind in the world. Any guesses? Working titles include...
Crap rafts. This boat is a toilet. Mr. Grumpy's Curious Poop-Eating Boat Machine. Poop and Paddle.
Its builder...
My name's Adam Katzman.
Completed it earlier this week, and just to be explicit...
It's a floating toilet that uses bioremediation to clean the toilet water that comes out of it.
If you're wondering why, well, it's not for the money.
Toilet paddle boat probably is not the most lucrative business plan.
Adam's a green builder. He converted this houseboat, parked across the dock at the same Queens Marina, into an off-grid structure.
And in the end, the water system on that boat is something that I became really excited about.
So he started studying water treatment in books and online, and this is his next experiment. And it's also a timely conversation piece. A few weeks ago, a fire at a New York sewage processing plant resulted in loads of raw sewage being dumped into the harbor.
Which became a huge issue, but it's no It's no different than what happens every time it rains in New York.
The problem is called combined sewage overflows.
Rainwater and sewage travel through the same pipes, and when it rains, the pipes get too full and they're designed to overflow into the waterways.
Whereas Poop and Paddle is a self-contained sewage treatment plant, although it's sized only for one person's use. So here's how it works.
So rainwater falls off the lower roof and goes into a holding tank for the toilet. To bring water in, you pump that lever, and then to flush the toilet, you pull that lever. You plunge the toilet water down and it goes through this tube into the holding tank, and in the holding tank solids settle out and anaerobic digestion starts, and as the solids begin to break down, they overflow and go through this constructed wetlands that's made out of old 55-gallon barrels.
For plants, Adam used
cattails and different rushes, and those seem to do really well, and so that's what I went with.
And he says the rocks are important too.
The rocks are providing surface area for all the bacteria and microbes to live on. The microbes and bacteria and plants start to break down the waste, and the plants use it as fertilizer.
The wastewater flows below the surface, pulled along by gravity. Actually, that's the trickiest part, Adam says, since the boat rocks. It's designed so that a flush will make its way through the system in about 30 days.
To this final cell here, which is a surface flow system, so there's water hyacinth and water lettuce and some other plants, and at that point the finished effluent is pumped out to irrigate these planter boxes here, and the water evapotranspires back up into the sky, falls back down on the roof as rain, and then goes through the system again. So it's a wastewater system, but there's no waste.
You can test for fecal coliforms, but there are low-tech indicators that the water's clean too.
You keep snails in it, and if the snails come out of the water, you know that there's something off in your system. But if everything, so if these plants look healthy and are doing fine, that's a good sign.
While this is kind of a niche application of this technology,
a couple cities in the United States actually use constructed wetlands as their way of treating municipal sewage.
Poop and Paddle is still undergoing testing, and in case you're wondering, so far it does not smell. Adam hopes to display it this fall and is open to letting the public contribute to the project.
To-do list is build the toilet paper holder. I don't have that yet. It's coming. Yeah, coming soon. Toilet paper roll.
For Science Friday, I'm Flora Lichtman.
I didn't look up what happened to the Poop and Paddle, but I think everyone's got to have their thing. And if you're excited about that, I'm into it. I like it. I'm here for it, y'all. All right, teams. We're at the end of we're at the beginning of round 3, kind of, because we are going to start from the very beginning and do all of the answers. So let's do it. Question number 1, I asked you in 5 words, how did Einstein refer to entanglement? He referred to it as spooky action at a distance, which I just think is like a hardcore thing for a scientist like Einstein to have said. I just love this phrase, spooky action at a distance. Anything spooky, it's just it's one of my favorite words. It's just got such a good feel to it. Anyway, that's what he called it, spooky action at a distance. So that was the answer. Question number 2, I asked you what percentage of carbon emissions in the U.S. did Nick Mott say comes from our homes? So not businesses or from air travel or anything else that makes carbon emissions. It's 20%. That's a lot. I mean, there are a lot of homes. There's a lot of apartment buildings, a lot of dwellings. 20%. So it makes sense. That means 80% comes from elsewhere. So that's bad. But 20% is not too bad. I feel like if we can get it down in other places, we can probably also get it down in our homes. And so that's what the segment was about. Was about how you can lower your carbon emissions at home as well. All right, question number 3. What tool do poachers use to find these succulents as described by Dina Fine-Marin? So she described like a tool that they use that I didn't suspect was used. And yet, this is what she said. It was brooms. They use brooms, essentially because they're rooted into the ground. And so if you actually broom across the ground, you can see the succulents sort of sitting there. So she said you can actually see these broom marks if you go out looking for where poachers are actually doing their work. You can see these scrape marks across the ground where they've broomed to try and find these succulents. So interesting. I was like, yeah, I guess that does make sense. You need to find a thing that has roots, that is rooted. They're very cute. When I go to the botanical garden here in Brooklyn, they've got a few of these on display, and they're like, "Can you find the succulent?" And I'm like, "What succulent?" So it works. They have very good camouflage. All right. Question number 4 was also about a science crime. I asked you how many live creatures were estimated to have been stolen as part of the Philadelphia Insectarium heist. It was 7,000, and apparently they were all like worth $50,000 total. I mean, that's like an astounding thing. I can't wait to watch this documentary. I gotta say, again, I stopped listening a little bit way through the end because I didn't want it spoiled for me. So I hope you will watch it too. Oh, Jamie says, so she's talking about the segment from question 3 about the succulents. Segment got me concerned about ethical sourcing of our houseplants. Yeah, me too. I mean, this has been a problem I didn't even know existed until recently. Someone also mentioned this. I'm glad we talked about it. So super interesting that because people want plants in their house, there is this huge sort of underground market to make that happen. So you have to be careful about where you get your plants. Yes, another thing that capitalism has ruined. Anyway, question 5, I asked you true or false. These researchers in the University of Washington needed to make micro every bit of hardware on the sensor that floats around on dandelion leaves. So they used a battery which weighed only about 4 milligrams. Haha! Trixie! It was false. And the reason it was false is because there's no battery. These things are solar powered, and they essentially kind of like power them through the night until the next day when the sun comes back up. And they don't really need that much power, so they don't need a battery. They just need a solar panel. So it was false because there are no batteries. Sorry, everybody. All right. So before we get to the end of the round, I wanted to say thank you. You're all amazing. As per usual, Wednesday's my favorite day. Sometimes I have bad days and I'm like, ugh, it's Wednesday and I have to do trivia again. But then I start doing trivia and I'm like, wow, this is the best part of my job. So thank you all for doing this with me week after week. We would love if you could consider donating to our tip jar. The tip jar exists basically so that if you like what we are doing, you want an easy way to support us, you can do that through sciencefri.com/donate-events. And I've also put the link in the chat. So you can click it there or you can highlight it and then put it in your URL. Any amount matters and all donations matter. So if you're able to give just $1, you can give as much or as little as you want. It actually matters less how much you give, and it actually matters more how many people give. Last week, I believe 7 people gave. So thank you to all of those 7 people. You all are amazing. No matter how much you're able to give, it helps support us. And it also tells the people who are in charge of the money that you care about this thing that we're doing. And so it gives me more ammunition when I go to say, I want to build this new thing for our trivia people. And they'll say, yeah, they're great. They support us in so many different ways. You should go build it. So it makes it really easy for them to say yes to me in the future. So thank you to everyone who has given, who is going to give tonight, or, anything ever. Thank you all so much. If you want to do something free, you can click the little subscribe button that is underneath our videos. We have a couple new videos that are coming out pretty soon, so you'll get notified when those are up. And if you click the little bell next to it, you'll actually get like a notification that will a push notification that will tell you, hey, a new video is up, or hey, Science Friday is going live with a trivia night. So yes, those are something that you can do for free regardless of whether you are able to donate. So again, thank you very much to everyone who is going to donate, who has donated. You're all the best. And I love doing this every week with you. So thank you for letting me do that. All right, teams. I'm so excited to tell you who won tonight, but I can't tell you yet because guess what? We have a tiebreaker. Hey, you all called it when you said it sounds like we're going to have a tiebreaker for tonight. And it's true. We have a bunch of teams that need to compete for the tiebreaker. Here are those teams: Buckeye 5, Herpetophilia, Los Gatos, Sacramento Kings, and Trained Observers. Those are our tiebreaker teams tonight. Again, I'm going to say that one more time. Buckeye 5, Herpetophilia, Los Gatos, Sacramento Kings, and the Trained Observers. I'm getting the form for the tiebreaker. So if you are one of those 5 teams, congratulations, 5 teams, Buckeye 5, Herpetophilia, Los Gatos, Sacramento Kings, Trans Observers. If you're one of those 5 teams, go to that form and open it up. Type in the first 2 parts. So the first part says something like team name, and the second thing says name and email. Just type those in now so that they are written, so they are ready to go, and you are ready to just type your answer into the tiebreaker answer. So, wow, teams. You're also incredibly smart. You know a lot about camels. Should I be concerned about how much you know camels? I feel like I should be concerned about how much you know camels. Maybe you're just like me and you think camels and alpacas are really cute. Who's to say? Probably you. All right, so here's how this is going to work. You are going to, as quickly as possible, give me an answer. And so you need to be quick, but you also need to be right. And so those are the 2 things you're trying to do. You're trying to be right, of course, because it's trivia, but you also want to be quick, because the first team that is both quick and right gets the point and wins tonight's trivia. So I'm going to say, type in the chat, and put it on the bottom of the screen at the same time. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go to my trivia form. I'm going to find the tiebreaker question. All right. And I'm going to put it in here. Are you ready? Closest wins. Closest wins. That's it. So the tiebreaker question is, in what year was Marie Curie born? In what year was Marie Curie born? Talk about firsts. First woman to win a Nobel Prize in chemistry. Is that right? I actually don't know. I've said it and I believe it, but is it right or not? She was born. In what year was she born? You have to be close and you got to be fast. All right, a few teams are coming through. Let's see. I think we might have it. All right, I'm going to just make sure the timing is right. Oh, all 5 teams. All right, all 5 teams have answered. 3 teams are correct, but 1 is correct and fast by about 5 seconds. And that team, Trained Observers. Hey, Trained Observers! Congratulations, you won. The answer was 1867. That is the correct year that Marie Curie was born. And you got it fast and right. Herpetophilia and Los Gatos, you also got it right, but you were just about, both of you were about 5 seconds behind our friends, Bob and Pat from the Trained Observers. Congratulations! Yay! You did it! You all are so incredibly smart. And all of you, even Buckeye 5 and Sacramento Kings, you were all very close. So this would have been a tough one if, congratulations. Trained Observers, you're there. You're at the tiebreakers a lot. So congratulations. You are often fast and first. So congratulations, team. I'm going to send you an email. I think you actually owe me another plant name. So send me 2 plant names. I'm going to the office next week because I also have to go to the eye doctor. My eye doctor is right next door to the SciFri office. So I'll go in next week and I will name your plants. All right, teams. This was so much fun. Why don't we do it again next week, huh? I'll be back next week. We're doing Mars Book Club Trivia Night. Again, we are reading The Sirens of Mars. It's not too late to join the SciFri Book Club, by the way. You can read this book along with us. We have all kinds of discussion questions and events still coming up. One of them is next week at Trivia. We're going to do all space, Mars, science news. It's going to be awesome. I'm very excited. So I'm very excited about it. So Christy's also going to be here with me. And you know how I love having someone to talk to. So hopefully you are able to join us next week and I will be there as per usual. So happy Wednesday, everyone. For SciFri Trivia, I am Diana Montano in Brooklyn, New York. Have a wonderful night. See you next week. Bye, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye. So much fun.